Hey, what's up, Boxing World? Show number 14th of the 13th round with Freddylokz. Lots of boxing to talk about this weekend. Lots of great boxing to talk about this weekend. On Friday night, we had Glenn Johnson out hustling Daniel Judah, finally getting his revenge after a couple of years. He won a 10-round unanimous decision, and I think it makes more sense now to see that fight. Well, to see Glenn Johnson versus Bad Chad Dawson instead of seeing the Tarver fight again. I mean, Chad Dawson pretty much whooped Tarver up and down the ring, and he had a really controversial decision over Glenn Johnson. So I think it's time to give the Road Warrior his second chance and really, really show the boxing world who the winner of that fight was, because there's a lot of doubts as we speak. We also had Giovanni Lorenzo with a brutal one-punch knockout over Dionisio Miranda. Giovanni Lorenzo now puts himself back in the middleweight picture, but before a title shot, I would actually like to see him in there with Enrique Ornelas type of fighter, or maybe even John Duddy, just to cement his position, because he has a loss over a rugged journeyman in Raul Marquez, and I would like to see him in there in another tough fight before he actually gets a title shot. We also had Thomas Adamek with another brutal knockout over previously unbeaten Jonathan Banks. He Adamek is pretty one-dimensional during the fight, but when he has his opponent hurt, he opens up with all kinds of punches and combos, and I would like to see that more of him in the beginning, in the first, second, third, fourth rounds. I think it'll make fights for him a lot easier, because he seems to be pretty stationary and one-dimensional throughout the fight. But once he hurts you, man, this man's a beast, man. And I love to see him. I love to see him fight, because every punch that lands, it's either going to hurt you or drop you or completely change the fight around. And to me, that's pretty exciting to see, because the division right now is pretty dead. It's pretty dead, but having him there makes it really interesting, because whether you're a champion, an undefeated fighter, or an up-and-comer, whatever, he's going to make a fight out of it, once he touches you. And it can be in the first round or it can be in the eighth, and I really like seeing him fight, man. I mean, you Polacks got a lot to be proud of, man. This man has an iron fucking jaw, and he comes to fight, man. And there was talks of him moving up to heavyweight. I'm not sure if the interpreter got it wrong or what, but that's what I understood. Before he leaves, if he leaves, I would love to see him in there, of course, with Cunningham again, and maybe even BJ Flores before he goes up. I mean, once he does go up, if he does go up, I mean, a David Haye fight would be, wow. It'd be explosive, and just thinking about it, I mean, makes me just happy, knowing that these two guys might even square him up pretty soon in the ring. I mean, that's the fight I would love to see, if in case he does move up. Something that really caught my attention was Eddie Cotton, the referee. When Banks was hurt after the first knockdown, Cotton kind of he chased him, grabbed his arms, made him turn around and keep fighting, and it was a good knockout. And I don't want to focus on the negatives here, but it was really bad to see that, because Banks was done. Banks was done, and for the referee to do that, maybe just to satisfy the fans or whatnot, but I think that was pretty sad of him to do, because the fans, regardless, were happy already, and I mean, I think he could have stopped the fight with that first knockdown, because Banks was in no condition to continue. And those last 4 or 5 shots that Adamek landed were really, really brutal shots, and they were clean shots, man. And I just wanted to touch that subject a little bit, because people have been emailing me, asking me what I thought about it, and I thought it was pretty sad on his behalf, and really unprofessional of him to do that. Let me see, what else? Saturday night was a beautiful night for boxing fans and casual boxing fans, hardcore boxing fans, first-time boxing fans. I mean, Chris John really brought it, man. And I think he got robbed. I mean, I scored it 7-5 which in many cases some people would say that's not a robbery because they could have gone either way. But the fact is that Chris John won his rounds clean, 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 clean. And the rounds I gave Rocky Juarez, I think out of the 5 I gave him, I think 3, maybe 4 were won like pretty clean. Besides that, there were some that were close, but I gave him to Rocky Juarez based on his aggression. But even then, you don't really call 7-5 type of score robbery. But in this case, I do, because John fought his heart out. You know, he didn't run. He outboxed. When it came down to fight, he fought. When he got hit, he stood there and fought right back and answered back with 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shots at times. And Rocky Juarez, to me, is always going to be a really tough journeyman. But I think even if he becomes a title holder one day, I don't see him holding it for that long because of his patience in there. You know, he's really patient. He looks for that one punch, and he's actually a really good boxer too. But for some reason, he looks for that one punch, and he's satisfied doing that. And I think he started a bit too late. But, you know, Chris John, man, wow, really impressed. I've only seen him in that Marquez fight on YouTube, and he really impressed me, man. He really impressed me. I can't wait to see him now. And you know, I would like to see him against, you know, Robert Guerrero, Steven Luevan, those type of fighters now, because he deserves it, man. This kid deserves it, and I think he's here to stay for a while. On the same night, means the main event that night was Marquez versus the Baby Bull. Wow, I mean, I don't know what many people were seeing. Many people were telling me that Juan Diaz was whooping his ass. I didn't see that. I mean, you know, Juan Diaz throws a lot of punches and bunches, and it looks really exciting, and I love Juan. I'm a big fan of Juan's, but if you notice the way Marquez would just tee off on him and you know, whenever that would happen, those shots count too, man. And just because Marquez doesn't make a lot of noise when he throws them or throws 10 punches to land 2, you know, Marquez was throwing 4, landing 4, you know, and Diaz was throwing 10, landing 2, 3, you know what I mean? But no shame, man, no shame in losing to Marquez. Marquez now to me is the pound for pound #1 fighter, and somebody asked me, someone that saw him for the first time asked me, how did this man have 4 or 5 losses? I told him, you know what? Going back to his first loss, I mean, I don't know. Every fight's controversial. It's you could say this man's unbeaten, you know, and that might be a bit biased, but it isn't so far-fetched either, because this man has not got his ass whooped clean not once. You know, there's always controversy surrounding Juan Manuel Marquez, and I think it's time for the mega bucks, and I would like to see him in there with the winner of Hatton Pacquiao, because his time is ticking, and after that, you know, I would like to see him retire on a really high note, but we know he probably ain't, but that's just what I want. Got some news and notes. Nonito Donaire versus Raul Martinez seems to be off. Just a couple of rumors I just read right now. I mean, I'll keep you guys updated on that, but I'm pretty disappointed. That was actually a really good fight. Chris Arreola versus Jamil McCline is official on the undercard of Winky Wright versus Paul Williams. You know, if Arreola wins, which I'm sure he will, I want to see him get that shot already. You know, it's kind of bull. It's BS, man. I mean, this man deserves a shot, and I would like to see him get it sometime this year if he's successful. And I'm also getting a lot of emails about Mosley, asking me about Mosley's future. As of right now, what I know, Mosley's only interested in the winner of Pac versus Hatton. That's all I know. That's all I can speak on. Upcoming fights and predictions, man. We got Dalvin Rodriguez versus Shimon Alvarez. I'm taking Alvarez in this one. You know, he's pretty patient, counter puncher. I think he can take Dalvin apart. Victor Ortiz versus Mighty Mike Arnautis. I'm taking Victor on this one. Mighty Mike seems to like to be really patient and counter punch a lot, which Victor has youth and speed on his side. I don't think Mighty Mike will do that, so I think Ortiz by decision. Robert Guerrero over Dodson Jordan, who I've never seen fight, so I'm just taking Guerrero because he's the champion, obviously. We also have a fight that's really hard to predict. James Kirkland versus Joel Julio. Now, both are bangers. You know, I've seen, if anything, I've seen James Kirkland shook up a bit more, but I've also seen Joel Julio in a lot of trouble with boxers, and between the two, I think James Kirkland is a better boxer, so I'm taking Kirkland to win this one. Maybe by late knockout or else a pretty clean-cut decision. With that, the show number 14 is over. Remember to send your emails, MySpace me, look me up for your questions. With that, your boy's out. Peace.